I used Bible paper to print over $2 million. I wanted to have something that was indistinguishable from a real bill. Lost my job, lost the house, lost the car. I was just in a bad spot financially. I considered robbing banks. Like, I didn't know. I thought, like, well, if I use a note, even if I get caught, like, I'm looking at like 5 years. If I do it right and like no
right.
dye packs, no
Yeah.
GPS, take all the bands off of the money so there's no dye packs. And I thought about like having somebody touch a piece of paper through like social engineering, have some guy like touch paper, get his fingerprints on the paper, and then type up, "This is a robbery," boom, boom, boom. So then I purposefully leave the robbery note with somebody. That was kind of my thinking. And I was thinking like, oh yeah, that'll work. I'll get a real flesh mask, so I'll look like an old black man or something, and then have an old black man touch the paper, and then boom, I'll frame like.
You need a guy that's already been arrested. For bank robbery. That's what you really, because then when he's saying, "Was it me?" Well, you've robbed banks before. You had your thumbprint get on the paper.
So I was locked up before. I had been to Knox County Jail, right, on some like petty driving on suspended or whatever. But I knew a specific person with SS bolts, like the Nazi stuff on his forehead, the tattoo.
Makes it hard for him to go to trial.
Yeah, I thought about getting a mask that looks like they've got the real looking silicone masks.
Right.
And I'll wear glasses because the only part that looks weird is around the eyes. So I thought about getting a mask and drawing with the Sharpie on the tattoos that that this guy had. Which in essence would be like, the bank teller would be like, oh, it's this guy with this tattoo on his forehead. And then that's a surefire way that police would be like, oh, yeah, we know that guy.
Yeah, the cops are going to be like, they're going to type in known tattoos, SS symbol in the middle of his eyebrows. Oh, it's Jimmy.
Yeah, exactly.
Jimmy's robbing banks again.
So I thought, this is genius. This is this is what could go wrong, But of course, like throughout that planning process, I realized like, God, this is risky, you know. So I ended up deciding to just counterfeit money again because I kind of left out. I counterfeited a little bit when I was younger too. After the ID thing, I printed $100 bills for about 6 months. I printed fake IDs since I was about 16. So I'd always kind of frequent bars.
Skip that.
Well, that wasn't
Everybody
anything.
does that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that is kind of pertinent to the story on some level. But yeah, I started like printing fake IDs at about 16, 17.
How? How was that?
I mean, it's pretty simple, really. Like I'd go get like the photo paper, that you can print on, and they've got like adhesive backed photo paper. So you like peel off the back and it's a sticker. So back then the Florida IDs weren't like covered in holograms and there weren't windows and all these security features. It was really just like there was a holographic overlay, I believe, on the original Florida IDs. And then there was like a invisible UV features if you put a UV light on it. But without the UV light, it looked, like older IDs just looked like a regular, like white with the green strip. Do you remember those IDs back in the day?
Yeah.
They were pretty easy to counterfeit, really. I'd just basically get that photo paper, print, like scan my ID, and change the dates, print it on the photo paper, and then take like a hotel room key and stick it on there, and then print the back, stick that on there, X-Acto knife, trim it off. And then I'd get like basically gloss laminate, cover that, and then just take some sandpaper and scuff it up so it looked a little old. That way, at first glance, it looked good, but it wasn't anything like super advanced. They wouldn't pass on like a cop or anything.
Right.
But buying beer or whatever, it usually worked, especially if you kept it in the little window of your wallet. And if somebody asked me to take it out, I'd just like leave the gas station, like awkwardly.
But it's about to break down. The whole scam's about to break down.
But for 16, 17 years old, wanting to buy, a quart of beer at the Indian gas station mart, it's like they worked. So, I did that for a little bit, and I sold them to like my friends, like my buddies would be like, oh, you've got one of those, I'll pay you $50 for one. So all I do was scan their ID, change some stuff, print it. It didn't take very long. It wasn't very hard to do. So I was kind of selling them to my buddies.
Look at these 11 pages. This is what a data broker claims to know about you. Your addresses, phone numbers, even relatives' names. And guess what? They're selling it. Anyone can buy your information for a few bucks. Scammers, stalkers, whoever. I've seen enough scams in my life to know just how dangerous this is. These companies are making billions selling your privacy, and we're the ones left vulnerable. That's why I use today's sponsor, Aura. Aura fights back by automatically finding where your information is being sold and scrubbing it off those sites. And it keeps it off. Other services claim to do this, but Aura does more. Alerts if your information hits the dark web, real-time fraud alerts for your bank account and credit, 24/7 monitoring, a secure VPN, antivirus, password management, and even $5 million in identity theft insurance. Bottom line, Aura gives me peace of mind. I'm not leaving myself vulnerable, and neither should you. Try Aura free for 14 days at aura.com/Matt. In 2 weeks, they'll be scrubbing your information off broker sites. That's aura.com/Matt.
So yeah, basically for about like a 6-month period when I was about 18 or 19, I did end up counterfeiting $100 bills. So a friend of mine, his dad was kind of like connected in Tampa with a certain ethnicity of people that are known for organized crime.
Right.
Basically I was printing these $100 bills and selling them essentially to my friend, which I knew he was then selling them to his father. And we did that for about 6 months. I probably sold him like $50,000 over the course of 6 months.
Right.
So it really wasn't that much money. It was probably like once a month I'd sell him like $5,000 or so, give or take. And really he was paying 25 cents on the dollar. So really it was only an extra $1,000 a month for me. So it wasn't anything like super profitable, but at that point, like I said, I was selling drugs and I was just hustling whatever I could. So I had a little bit of experience printing the IDs, and a little bit of experience printing money as well. But then my friend who I was selling the bills to overdosed and died because that was in the heart of the pill mill thing down in Florida.
Right.
Basically, I had never met this guy's father. It was just I was only dealing with my friend. So when he overdosed and passed away, it kind of severed that connection.
Right.
And I was super nervous about counterfeiting in general. So when he died, I just kind of hung it up and went on to the next hustle or whatever. But yeah, there was about 6 months where I was counterfeiting money when I was about 18, 19 years old.
Okay, so you're back at things are bad. You need to come up with about 10 grand. You're thinking about robbing a bank. You decided against robbing the bank. You decided that what? So you decided at this point the safest course of action is.
Yeah, I was basically planning this string of bank robberies, because I figured
It's funny how this has gone from a casual. I was thinking about it too. Now there's a whole string of possible bank robberies.
I'm sure you know, right? You rob a bank with a note, you're only getting that one till. You don't want him to say, go over there and get money from the other register too, because that's an enhancement by telling them to go somewhere else. It's like kidnapping.
Yeah.
And I knew all this. I kind of like educate myself before I commit crimes. I planned out. And
the longer you're in the bank, the better chance you are of getting
caught. Exactly. So you really just want to give them a note, get whatever in their register, and get out of there.
Right.
So I knew robbing a bank, you're only going to get $2,000 to $5,000 maybe.
Yeah, I think the average bank robber gets $3,500.
Yeah. I figured I'd be extremely lucky if I got $8,000 to $10,000. But I was Murphy's Law, right? Like I anticipated getting $2,500. I figured that was like what I should expect, and then I won't be let down.
Right.
So I figured I'd have to rob like at least 5 banks to, get on my feet. And again, that would just be enough to finance a car and rent a house, get into a rental house. So it was like even that's not And then it's like, well, if you're going to risk your freedom robbing a bank, I'd want to get more than just, a cheap buy here, pay here, rent, financed car and a rental house. So I figured, well, I should probably rob about 10 banks. So I like kind of planned it out and found these specific banks that were like 2 right turns away from an interstate. I planned on like digging a hole on the side of the interstate to bury everything as soon as I was done. Like I had it all really planned out. But in that process, I reconnected with a buddy of mine who I worked with at the sign company. And it just so happens he had become a rather large drug dealer. So kind of hanging out with him, and surprised at the level he had gotten to, in the drug world. I mentioned to him that I used to counterfeit money when I was younger. So he kind of was like, well, shit, if you're gonna don't rob banks, then just start printing money again. And I thought about it and it kind of like light bulb moment. I was like, yeah, maybe you are right. Like that's kind of the safer bet. It's
Right.
better than robbing banks. And as long as I don't spend them myself and don't spend them in the city I'm living, and as long as I only sell them to my one drug dealer friend, because he said, if you start printing $100 bills, I'll buy them off of you. So I was thinking like, well, yeah, okay, that's a lot safer than robbing 10 banks. Like the odds of me getting caught robbing 10 different banks or counterfeiting money again, I figured that was the safest bet, especially with like a newborn child, having children at that point, all that. So basically I started working on these digital files, right? Like, if you try to scan a picture of $100 bill, the scanner will like recognize it, and it won't allow you to upload the scan. It just like kind of posts like a penal code, a U.S. code, whatever, like the law as to why you're not. Yeah, it's like U.S. section, U.S. code 471 or whatever it is. So you can't scan pictures of $100 bills. So to get around that, I just took a photo of it. I'd take a brand new crisp $100 bill, lay it down, and just snap a photo of it. Square it up, the camera, and take a photo of the bill. So then you could upload a photo, no problem.
Right.
And then with that, I would, use the little bit of graphic design experience I had through the sign industry to kind of like make the background just white, and brush up all the fine details.
Yeah, try
take away,
clean up the image.
Exactly. Yeah, to get rid of all the gray pixels and sharpen the image, basically. And like I would layer the image. So I used like 3 or 4 different layers. So like one would just be the background color, that cream color of because I was doing the 96 series $100 bill, which isn't the blue note. It's the one before that. So, I'd have one file with just this cream background color, and then another file with just the green serial numbers and the treasury seal, and then another file with all the black ink, like the Federal Reserve seal, the portrait, all that. And then like basically, when I was counterfeiting previously, I bleached $1 bills and was doing that for the paper.
Mm-hmm.
But that was problematic, because like I'd have to get a bundle of $50 from the bank that was uncirculated, and then I'd have to like put it in Purple Power automotive degreaser and hydrogen peroxide and microwave it, and then take a sander and file it down. And it was just like, out of the $50, theoretically you could make $2,500 bills out of the $50 because
Right.
you're gluing a front and a back together. But with the sander, the whole process, I'd mess up some, like probably 10, 20%, I'd mess up. So really I was having to invest $50 in uncirculated ones, plus all the supplies. to get like $2,000. And I just didn't like that process. It wasn't as good as it could have been.
The paper is the key.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the thing. It was like I agreed to myself that if I was gonna counterfeit again, I wanted to make something that was flawless. Like I couldn't risk. I wanted to have something that was indistinguishable from a real bill. Even though I made it a point to myself that I wouldn't spend them myself. I wanted something that was indistinguishable. Like, I didn't want any issue selling the product, having the bills pass, or anything like that. So I knew I needed to find better paper, and I knew I needed to work on like the color shifting ink and like kind of just tweak the process and make it, make it better, basically. Right. So throughout kind of trial and error of just trying to find the best paper, I was going to every single art supply store, Hobby Lobby, Michael's, online, researching paper, the different like thicknesses, and 20-pound paper is kind of the typical bill, is about 20 pound. Mm-hmm. So I knew I needed about 9 pound to have the front and back glued together. Plus, when you have add in the adhesive and the lacquer, you're looking at a
little bit of weight.
Yeah, you need to find basically 9 pound paper to then glue 2 pieces together with the lacquer and adhesive. You want it to add up to 20-pound thickness. So anyway, like newsprint, I'd read in the book Art of Making Money that he used newsprint. But that is kind of like a gray paper.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the paper like kindergartners use to like draw on or whatever, which would work if you printed the background color on like an offset press. You're basically like
covering the gray.
Yeah, you're like painting
also
on
adds
the
weight.
ink. Yeah, and that would add weight. But I'm using inkjet printers. I was like, basically, I didn't have a big offset press.
Right.
I only had inkjet printers, so I couldn't color the paper that way. So with the newsprint, it was too gray. If I printed it, it wouldn't look right. So I needed to find a kind of paper that was thin, but also opaque, to where you couldn't see the strip and watermark through the face of the bill, mm-hmm. but it needed to be thin enough to,
And the paper's a big deal because when you feel it, you don't realize it, but until you feel a fake dollar bill, when you feel the dollar bill, the dollar bill has a very distinctive feel to it and weight to it when you are handed it. So if you think, a lot of people, you just print it on a regular piece of paper, you'd know immediately. You couldn't hand that to anybody. Even if it looked perfect, they'd take it and they'd go, no.
Yeah.
They immediately would feel like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah. And
looks right, but doesn't feel right.
Most people don't realize, that the feel is the most important part, really. And real money is like, it's like real crisp. It's because they use intaglio presses. Mm-hmm. So when they do print on it, they use presses with extreme heat and pressure. So it makes the bill really dense. Like essentially it's thin but real dense. So it's like that's where that pop comes from. If you kind of pop a bill, it's like real sharp sounded because it's so,
and it's durable.
Yeah, exactly. It's cotton, linen, rag. It's not paper, it's cloth. So I needed to replicate that. And doing all this research, I had stumbled across Scritta paper, which is Bible paper. But officially, that's what it's called, Scritta.
How did you
just researching on Google, like different types of paper.
Oh, okay.
And I'd go through every one and kind of research it and see what it is and all that. And I found one, one page I went to, some random page. It was describing Scritta paper, which is, most people know, is Bible paper. And it was saying that some Scritta paper is made of cotton, linen, a blend of cotton and linen. which I was thinking that's perfect. That's what money is actually printed out of.
So only the best for Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I always say, most people say like, oh, you're so smart for using Bible paper to replicate money, but it's like, really, I think people were looking at it the wrong way. I think they printed money on Bible paper originally because that's what Bible paper was for. It was this durable paper that'll last forever because it's like, the Word of God.
Yeah, you want to be able to pass it around a lot. You want to, it goes from hand to hand. Yeah.
Exactly. So I honestly think back in the day, Crane and Company, the company that the government sourced the paper from, I think they decided to use Bible paper for the money, instead of vice versa. So
it's
really what I started doing was kind of the same train of thought that, the original founders,
I'm sure that's what they were thinking.
Yeah, well, but anyway, I found this Bible paper and it was super thin, and certain types of Scritta paper that you find in the high-end Bibles is opaque, thin, and it's made of a blend of cotton and linen. So, I mean, it was literally perfect. And if you shine a UV light onto high-end Scritta paper, it glows a dull purple just like money. Whereas most paper, pretty much all paper, is bleached in the manufacturing process. So it glows like a bright fluorescent blue. But this high-end Scritta paper, glowed purple in UV light. It was opaque, it was thin, it was durable, it's cotton linen blended paper, so I mean it's all, or cloth, I guess technically. It was everything I needed. So after experimenting with the Scritta paper, it was perfect, except it didn't mark with a pen, because they still use starch in the manufacturing process. So like the counterfeit detection pens, it's kind of like it is a chemical reaction. Pretty much all paper is manufactured with starch, for whatever reason. I'm not even really sure what benefit starch brings, but nonetheless, the counterfeit detection pens have an iodine-based ink. So the iodine reacts with starch and turns black. Whereas real money doesn't have starch. It's printed on starch-free paper. That stays yellow. The ink stays yellow, the iodine. So basically, this high-end Scritta paper marked black because there was starch in it. But I realized if you coat the paper with a clear spray paint, essentially, it creates a barrier. So you're basically preventing that chemical reaction by coating the paper. By the time I kind of used trial and error to find all the right materials, was just about the same time I was finishing up with all the digital files. So it kind of took about a month and a half, 2 months, but it seemed like everything kind of just fit into, fit together perfectly. As far as I found the Bible paper, I found a specific kind of Revlon eyeshadow. It's like an interference green pigment. So it's like basically metallic green, and as you tilt it, it disappears. So I figured in the color shifting ink, I would print the 100 in just black. I would adjust the contrast in the photo to where there's super high contrast, to where that 100 was just solid black, and then I could paint on this interference eyeshadow to where it looked metallic green until you shifted it, and then it would disappear, thus displaying the black, print.
Right. So it feels like a hologram, right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're...
It's really optically variable ink is what color shifting ink is technically. So it's like...
But it gives the same look. Sorry, it gives the same look as the security features.
It replicates the color shifting effect.
Okay.
But really, like I said, I'm printing the black and then coating it with the metallic green instead of it actually switching color.
Yes, it appears that it is, but it's really just allowing you to see the black.
Exactly.
But if you're grabbing it real quick and holding it up, and they're not really doing a whole thing. They're like, oh, I see. Okay, they're all good.
And that's what I thought was like, well, if somebody really looks at this close, like, they'd have to be able to tell it's just replicating
Right.
the color shifting. But I mean, surprisingly, a lot of people really examined those bills, and they always concluded that they were real. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's just because I knew they were fake or I was making
Well,
them.
how
or
many
whatever,
people are
but
really ever seeing a counterfeit bill anyway? You know what I'm saying? As
and
long as
that-
you got the features.
That's the thing. It's like I've learned with counterfeiting, like one, if you go through all the time and effort to replicate all these features, like most people aren't seeing that. If they do see a counterfeit bill, it's like this prop money, or it's somebody just photocopying some BS. They don't look good. They don't mark with the pen, or if it does mark with the pen, they don't have the strips and watermarks. And if they have that, they don't have the color shifting. Like when you get all of this together, it's pretty convincing, you know what I mean? And then on top of that, if they still think it's fake, they don't assume that the person using it is this criminal mastermind with this counterfeiting operation. They just assume like, oh, you must have gotten screwed over, right?
Right.
So then they say like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, here, take this back. Take it to where you got it. So like even the few times you are called out or whatever, they just feel bad for you because they think you must have gotten ripped off with the counterfeit bill. And then they give it back like, feeling, sympathy for you. And it's like, oh no, let me take this back to the store I cashed my check at. Like, I'm going to go confront them about this.
Right.
And, so there's a lot of that. But anyway, so I finally got this like recipe and formula down. And I start selling these bills to my drug dealer friend. And of course, with my luck at that period of my life, I sold him about 2 envelopes of $5,000, and I had sold him the 5,000 for 1,000. So I had made a couple $1,000, but that was basically just enough money to survive until I sold him the next envelope. Again, I'm like living paycheck to paycheck, basically. And after selling him 2 envelopes, his house gets raided for selling drugs, and he goes to jail. So now I'm back in this spot to where it's like, okay, now I've got these bills and I'm making them, but now I have no one to sell them to because he just got arrested.
Right.
So I'm back again.
He was kind of your buffer because you didn't want to use them yourself. So he was the buffer that you felt like,
yeah, and
I'm giving them to him. It's his problem to get rid of them.
Yeah, and he even when I was selling them to him, he was going to Atlanta and buying drugs with them. So like they weren't hitting the bank necessarily.
Yeah.
They was kind of staying in this criminal underworld in a different city, in a different state. So like I felt pretty comfortable selling them to him. But like I said, he got his house raided like maybe 2 weeks after I started selling the bills to him. And one of his charges was possession of counterfeit money. So when they raided his house, they found my bills. I had sold him an envelope the day before his house got raided.
He didn't give you up or anything?
Well, I don't know. See, I of course you assume
he's going to.
He must, Nothing ever came of it though. So maybe not. To this day he says, "Oh, of course not," because I've still communicated with him after he's gotten out of jail. And he went to jail, nothing ever came of it on my end.
Right.
So I assume
he probably didn't.
He probably told on me, but didn't know my last name or something.
Right.
I don't know.
Or it's kind of hard once you've been arrested. It's hard to cooperate after your arrest has hit the, hit your booking photo and everything's hit the website. If you say, well, I know a guy that does this, it's kind of almost like, yeah, okay, you know that, and I know it's a counterfeit, but it's too late for us to wire you up and send you in.
Yeah.
You've already hit the website. It's
yeah.
Well, I don't know if we can do anything with this. We got his name. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and it might have been something like that. I'm not sure, but I never saw any consequences from his raid. But
maybe he kept it solid.
Maybe
there's always that one guy.
But anyways, like also luckily with that, my lease was up right around when he got arrested. So that was in my benefit to where the lease was up. I basically took the wife at the time and the kids, and I said, let's get a hotel room because this guy Rich just got arrested. And he served his time, and he said I could talk about him and everything
Yeah.
because it's all in the past. But
So you're living in a hotel room now.
And
Yeah.
I got a question. Like at this point, since you're just selling to him, you haven't tested these for like who's checking them? You're just checking them like, oh, this looks as good as it possibly can. You're not checking it with anyone else. You know what I mean? As far as
not like at the stores. Yeah, I didn't want to break any of the bills myself.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'd test them with the counterfeit detection pens that I like bought at Walmart. And I would I asked the opinion of like my wife, and I asked the opinion of a couple close friends. So there was a few people that like knew what I was doing,
Right.
and would kind of give me their advice or opinion on how the bills looked. But besides that, I didn't want to break them or test them at a cashier because, that was kind of against my rules as a counterfeiter.
Right.
But after his house got raided, again, it's like desperate times call for desperate measures. I found myself living out of a hotel, with 4 kids and a wife, and now I've got nobody to sell the bills to.
It's hard enough to live in a house with 4 kids.
Yeah.
And a wife.
So it's like, yeah, I'm basically, okay, the hotel's, checkouts in, a day, and I've got a stack of $100 bills, but like, I'm not going to pay for my hotel with counterfeit money. Like,
Yeah.
that's not smart. So I basically was kind of like forced to try to go to the store and buy something and get $95 change. And,
Right.
So I broke my own rule in
Yeah.
a situation now to where I don't have anyone to sell these bills to. I got to pay for another week at the hotel though. So beyond my better judgment, and I end up breaking my own rules, and I go not only break a bill, but in the city I'm living, and every rule I shouldn't break, I broke. But again, desperate times call for desperate measures. It was just like, so I remember specifically the first time I broke a bill, and it was at a Taco Bell, which again, now I know fast food places are not a good place to break bills because they all have their safes have a bill validator in them. It's like a vending machine. They put the bill in this bill validator to deposit it in the safe.
So worst possible place. Let's go there.
Worst possible place. So I didn't know this though because I had
Yeah.
never broken bills before. So it was a learning curve, But I go into this Taco Bell. The lobby closed at like 12 midnight, and I walk in at 11:45. The manager is the cashier, so it's just like all bad.
Right.
Like
the
but-
guy who has the most training.
Yeah, just all of it. But luckily, and I didn't know this woman was the manager until after. So like I walked in with a false confidence, and I ordered 2 tacos, I think it was, and I hand her the bill, and she just holds it up, and boom. Since it was so late, she was doing the cash drop in full from the drawer, so that's why she didn't put it in the bill validator safe. So yeah, I handed her the 100. She just held it up, looked at the strip and the watermark, and put it on a stack of money that she was getting ready to put in the safe. So like everything worked out flawlessly by just sheer luck.
Right.
But yeah, it was the wrong business to go to with the wrong, the manager was taking it. It was all theoretically, it all should have been bad, but luckily it worked out flawlessly. She gave me $96 change.
Nice.
And it I thought, oh, this must have been a fluke. Like, I knew the bills looked good.
That was too easy.
But yeah, it just seemed like I was so nervous. This is the first time I'd ever broken a bill, and it just went off perfectly. So I was thinking like, okay, that had to have been just luck or something. But I made $96, and that was good. But it was already like midnight, so I didn't break any more that night. Obviously, it was late. The next day, I figure like I don't want to break bills myself. I don't want to break them in the city, but I'm gonna have to. So like, out of desperation. So tomorrow I'm gonna start early and just start breaking bills to see, kind of like a trial run to see how they pass at registers, just the whole deal. So the next day, I don't remember the next day where I went, but I remember specifically being super nervous the first like 10 places I went. But everyone passed without any issue at all. So after passing about 10 bills, I got confident after that. And then I kind of realized this is all in my head. Like, these bills are passing easy. They mark with the pen. They've got the strips, watermarks. They look really good. So after about 10 bills, I started just going anywhere and everywhere.
To 10 bills, that's like $900.
Yeah, well, about 800, yeah.
Okay.
Because I try not to... when
It kind of looks suspicious if you're like, here's a $100 bill I'm paying for a stick of gum.
Yeah, exactly. I had always tried to spend about $20. The Taco Bell thing, like I said, was just I did everything wrong, but like it just worked out well. But yeah, I mean that first day I made about $800, in a few hours, and mind you, before I was printing 5,000 and selling them to my buddy for $1,000. So I was putting in a lot of work. It would take me a few days to make $5,000 at then, because I hadn't streamlined the process yet either. Right. I was still, I had one printer, and I was just, the process took a long time. So it was great to print 10 bills and make $800 off of it. So at that point, it was like, well, hell, it's a lot more profitable to spend to myself. And I still didn't have anyone to sell them to anyways. So I figured, like, okay, I'll just go, head first into breaking these bills.
Are you concerned that you're clearly on camera in some of these places, right? Like, are these mom and pop places, or are these like commercial?
No, yeah, I tried to go only to like big corporations.
Yeah.
One, I figured,
fuck them.
Big corporations, the bill will get one. Yeah, fuck them.
Right.
There was a lot of that.
Right.
Like, fuck, I'm not going to name them, but, those big corporations, fuck them. And two, it's like, for a giant multi-billion-dollar corporation with locations throughout the world, they're a lot less likely to investigate one fake bill, whereas a mom and pop store, one, I didn't want to screw over some hardworking guy that's putting his life and soul into his business and steal money from him.
Right.
But also, he's a lot more likely to get pissed off and investigate this.
Right.
So there's a little bit of my heartstrings, and then there's a little bit of like, yeah, this just makes sense, strategically. But yeah, I tried to only go to big corporations, and throughout breaking bills regularly, I kind of eventually learned which corporations were the best ones. So like I said, fast food places, gas stations, those are not ideal because most of them have bill validators in their safes, which it's basically like their safe is just a vending machine, and you have to put it through that electronic receiver. And that receiver detects magnetic ink. Some of them detect infrared features. There's an invisible infrared barcode on the back of every bill to differentiate a $5 bill from a $100 bill. And there's multiple other features as well. Different bill validators check for different security features. And that's another reason why I steered clear from bill validators or self-checkout POS machines, because they're just private companies, right? So, like, there's, like, the Magellan, for instance, which is a self-checkout POS. And, but they're all private companies. So one company may only check for magnetic ink, whereas another company is trying to compete with that company, so they check for magnetic ink and infrared barcodes and UV strips and all that. So you don't know exactly what this bill validator checks for because they're all just independent private companies, so it's harder to beat it. right? So like I may spend a little bit of extra time printing the black ink with MICR toner, which is magnetic ink character recognition toner, right? Like basically I can rewind. Like MICR toner is magnetic ink character recognition toner, and it's designed to print checks from home. Because when you print a check, the account number and routing number on the bottom left of the check is printed in magnetic toner. That way, when you run the check through the machine, it detects the magnetic toner, so it can read those digits through like the amount of magnetism, right? But if you print the black ink of a bill with that MICR toner, it will work in certain bill validators. So it's like, yeah, I did that for a time, but then I realized, oh, it worked in this bill validator, but not this one. So it's just like you don't know which bill validators check for what, and it becomes complicated.
When it doesn't accept it, what does it do? Just give you the bill back?
Yeah, basically, at the bill validating like safes.
My fear is you put it in. I'm like, oh, like.
Well, the ones that are just by the register.
You're at Home Depot and there's sirens and shit. I'll be like,
SWAT team comes down. That's what you're thinking. But in all reality, the cashier just goes, huh, that's weird. Yeah, we can't accept this and give it back to you. But yeah, of course, in your mind, you're thinking like, when's the SWAT team gonna kick in the door? But you know, like again, it's just even trying to have these bills work in bill validators or self-checkout POS machines or what have you. It just complicates the process. It's much easier to just focus on the magnetic or the color shifting ink, the strip, the watermark, and it marking with the pen, and then simply finding a cashier, right?
Right.
It makes things, it simplifies things.
Yeah.
So I just kind of streamlined the process by eventually, through trial and error, learning what security features to focus on, which ones to kind of leave behind and not even mess with, and all that.
So now you got like $900, right? Are you now like 100% all in? Like, oh, fuck this. I'm going to buy another fucking printer. I'm going to buy boom, like, hey, I'm setting up a lab. I'm going to start knocking these things out.
Not yet. Eventually, yes.
Okay.
Basically, when you're driving around breaking bills, one at a time, it's hard to spend more than like $2,000. Just because, I mean, you got to think you're going into a store, you're finding something to buy. Which eventually I'd just go in and buy the same thing every time. Like there's a means to an end. I'm trying to break a bill, nothing else. Because I'd find myself like shopping a little bit. Like, oh, what do I want to buy? And then I'm strolling around the store for 15, 20 minutes to get some bullshit I don't even want from the dollar store.
Right.
And then I'm waiting in line for 5 minutes. And then, you know what I mean? It's just a waste of time. So I found you just go in, buy a case of diapers. Or whatever it might be. I need diapers because I had a newborn baby at the time.
Yeah.
So it's just like, buy diapers. If I have enough diapers, then I'll just donate the diapers.
Right.
Whatever. But like, it's just buy the same thing every time. It makes things quick, easy. The diapers. And there's like a psychological, I feel like buying something like diapers kind of brings an innocence to me.
Yeah.
Psychologically.
And you get to walk right in the store, grab it, and get out because it's like, obviously, my wife sent me up here to get diapers.
Yeah.
I don't have to shop for it. It looks odd if I walk in, grab some bubble gum, and go to buy it. It's like, it seems like you're trying to break 100. As opposed to I go in and get the diapers. Well, I got a fucking kid at home. I got to get the diapers.
Exactly.
So
diapers and wipes. Or tampons is another good thing because it just looks like, you know, my wife sent me here to get some tampons.
Yeah, got to get out.
And then you can just kind of put it and just, I don't know, this, and then whatever. It's an awkward conversation. I always went to female cashiers.
Yeah.
And if I sent, eventually I had other people going in and breaking bills for me to kind of
break it up.
You know,
Plus, if you have to run, I feel like I could take a female cashier. She can't stop me. She's 120 pounds. I can take this chick.
There's unfortunately, I hate to say it, but that's a factor too. It's like a woman is less likely to be confrontational with a man. right? And you know, I got the baby blue eyes, so
Yeah.
you look them in their eyes, you know, that helps too a little bit.
Come on, I'm trying to pass a bill.
You have a pretty girl
me go.
going to a male cashier, they're less likely to confront a pretty girl, you know. So there's a lot of psychology that goes into picking the right cashier, because if you go into a grocery store and there's 10 registers, like, you kind of get to pick you have a lineup of people to choose. So I've just found psychologically it's best to go to the opposite sex. There's a certain age range, like you either want really young, inexperienced cashiers or really like old, elderly kind of people. You kind of steer away from people the same sex. Ages 35 to 50 are not as good.
Right. You go to you're 30 years old. You go to a 45-year-old black lesbian. She hates your guts.
Exactly.
She's dying to catch me. She's
That's
trying
true.
to catch me, and she'll tackle me.
Yeah.
She'll fight me.
That's true. I mean, we joke about it, but it's 100% accurate. Not that that's happening, but yeah, no. At least, you know, you think it will. So that's, you don't
I can
want
see you wrestling around on the floor. Get off me, LaFonda. Let me go. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And through the trial and error, you also learn eventually, like I said, what stores to go to, which ones not. Most dollar stores, grocery stores, you know, auto parts stores, there's certain corporations that they're just trained, just like a bank teller at a robbery, right? They're trained to, when you get a bill, just mark it with the pen. That's the system we use. If it marks, take it.
Right.
So, you know, other stores are trained, just use your best judgment, feel it, look for this, look for that, whatever, use your best judgment. And those stores, you know, my specific bills had passed all the tests, but still I'd rather go to a dollar store where they're specifically instructed, just mark it with the pen. If it marks, accept it. So then it's like, even if they think it looks weird, they think, well, it marked, so my job is to take it, you know?
So you start knocking these things out.
Yeah, I started probably doing about 20 bills a day, making roughly 1,700 a day. But it was definitely a job. I'd basically wake up, start printing at like 9 a.m., and I'd print till about 2 in the afternoon, say. And then after that, I'd immediately go out and break those bills. And from about 2, 3 in the afternoon till about 10 at night, it would take that amount of time to break about 20 bills. And then when it hit 10 o'clock, most stores close at about 10 p.m. So from then, I would go back to the room and start taping paper to prep for the next morning to begin printing again. Because the Bible paper, the Scritta paper, is so thin that you can't just put it in a printer and run it through. It's so thin, it'll jam up. So I basically had to tape the Bible paper onto regular printer paper, like regular A4 copy paper. I would have to print or tape the Bible paper centered on that page so I could then put it through the printer. So after 10 p.m., when all the stores closed, I would go back to the hotel room and sit there and tape paper. Each bill had a front and a back. So to print $2,000, that's 20 bills, that's 40 pieces of Bible paper I would need to tape. So, you know, from 10 p.m. to about midnight, I'd tape that paper and then go to sleep.
If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above, that's where GhostBed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, GhostBed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, Check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use code Cox at the checkout.
To wake up at 8, to begin printing at 9, to, print till 2, to then go shopping till 10. I mean, it was like nonstop. I mean, I was making about $1,500 a day, but like it was nonstop. This was my life all day, every day. Everything was
Sounds
this.
horrible.
It really was. It really was. and
$1,500 a day. It's $1,500. That's a pretty good life. That's not bad.
it's not bad, but you gotta keep it going.
If you work 5 days a week, that's $7,500. That's $30,000 a month. Working 5 days a week.
But also, keep in mind, living out of hotels.
Well, you don't have to live out of a hotel for long. Well, you also have a drug habit.
I was going to say, me and my wife at the time both had habits living out of hotels. So obviously, we don't have a kitchen, and also we're eating out. We got the kids still. We got one of those long-term, kind of like extended stay hotels. It has somewhat of a kitchen. Like it has a fridge.
The kitchenette. They call it a kitchenette.
Kitchenette.
I think that's what it's called.
You know about this, huh?
Kitchenette.
But so I mean, we're basically eating out with 4 kids that they all order grilled cheese, chicken nuggets, and don't even eat it. So you're just I'm wasting $100 every meal. You know what I mean? Basically, if we've got the drug habit. We're living out of hotels, and we like the finer things in life. You know what I mean? For the most part, so. $1,500 a day isn't as much as you'd think when you're spending $500 a day on, on H and, eating out every meal. And you got the newborn kids with the diapers and the wipes and, I mean? Like,
how are you getting the paper?
Well, that's the other thing. Like I said, it's only a specific type of Bible paper that works. It's like the high-end Bibles. Mm-hmm. And those high-end Bibles are like $80 a piece. So I couldn't really buy the Bible to get the paper, right? It was just too expensive. I'd be spending $1,000 on Bibles to make $5,000 in bills. So basically, I would... go into bookstores and kind of just take a Bible like I'm reading it and flip to the blank pages and kind of close it and then just rip the paper out in a closed book and then just take it and put it in my pocket and set the... I had this process that...
So printing on the Bible paper isn't bad enough. We also need to steal...
Listen,
the Bible paper.
It's not my finest moment. Not something I'm necessarily proud of. But
on the thumbnail, we need to have devil horns.
Oh God, I think you did. On the first interview, there was a picture of like fire behind me and the Holy Bible and the. But yeah, again, it's like I was on drugs and it wasn't.
You have to justify it to me. I'm good. I'm good with it. You don't tell me.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, so what about you, Matt Cox? What were you in for?
I didn't steal homeless people's identities or anything. Like, I'm not, trust me, it's not a judging thing.
Well, you can justify just about anything when it comes to making money. But
I was going to ask, I know it's a silly question, but was there any thought, you know what, like, I shouldn't be using the Bible paper? Or was there just...
Well, see, I justified it as I'm only taking the blank pages, right? So really, and no one would know, like those Bibles still sold. Somebody going into a bookstore to buy a Bible, they didn't notice that the 2 blank pages at the back of the book were missing. So it's not like I was necessarily, technically I wasn't defacing a Bible. I was taking the blank pages.
I could see.
The word of God remained intact.
Can you imagine in front of the federal judge that eventually sentences you? And he was stealing Bibles or Bible paper to print this, and the judge looking at you, and you're like,
yeah, put your hand. I had to put your hand on the Bible to testify. Be like, there any blank pages in this? You mind if I flip through the back of this? But no.
Do you think like that has any effects on your sentencing, like the Bible?
Well, during my sentencing, I forget what it's called. Whatever in sentencing when oh, I don't remember the specific term, but when they talk about your case, like right before you're sentenced or whatever.
Yeah. What were they? Okay.
But I remember that the judge did kind of like when he mentioned Bibles, like the judge did go like
Oh,
like
come
one
on.
of those.
See, if I was a federal judge, I could never be a judge. There'd be so much snickering on my part going,
Yeah, I don't think you'll ever be
Stop
a federal
it.
judge, Matt.
What were you doing?
I don't think you need to worry about that. The day you become a federal judge is the day America has declined rapidly.
Listen, on my sentencing, I was signing the satisfaction of mortgages I'd signed with C. Montgomery Burns from the tycoon from The Simpsons. And the judge said in my sentencing, he said, I mean, the Simpsons character, it's not the worst thing, but anyway. Like, oh my God.
You're just making a mockery of the law.
It's not the worst. But it's not the worst aspect of the crime, but my God.
Was your judge a Tarantino fan
Oh,
or
God, no,
the Reservoir Dogs or whatever?
He was disgusted with me.
God.
Had no sense of humor at all.
And they gave you 23 years?
26 years and 4 months. 316 months.
Do you think that was because you were on supervised release while you did it?
No,
that
I think
had to have been a huge factor.
Well,
in
I
your
was on the
sentencing.
run for 3 years, and I kept doing it. Like if when I got caught, I had just said, "Okay, I plead guilty," and if I had stayed in Tampa, you could have just added the extra 3 or 4 million I stole while on the run. You just added it to the money I stole in Tampa. If I just gone to prison, because I didn't get any more. It wasn't like I got more. It was just they just added all that really got added up was the amount of money, right? Mm-hmm. So if I just stayed in Tampa and gotten sentenced, I'd have probably got very little time. Probably gotten 7 or 8 years.
I was gonna say because 26 years seems excessive.
They just started just tacking it on
Enhancements.
Yeah, and by the time I was sentenced, the economy was collapsing.
Oh, they blamed you for the 2008
mortgage. Yeah, and they didn't
crisis.
Specifically blame me, but they just were talking. It came up.
Well, you didn't help.
No, I didn't help.
The housing crisis.
The economy is collapsing because of Mr. Cox, but it was everywhere, and they mentioned.
Yeah.
That I was the poster boy of mortgage fraud. I was the poster boy of, identity theft. You're the poster boy. It's because of things like crimes like this that the economy is.
Yeah, they
it's
threw
like,
the book at you.
All. Come on, man. Cut it out.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I mean, that's like blaming me for the economy,
Right.
the inflation or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like I did $2 million, if that.
It's a drop in the bucket, right?
Yeah, really COVID was the reason that things are twice the price. But you can blame little old
But
me,
prosecutors will do it. They'll say anything. So you were going to bookstores, but didn't you when they're
there was multiple sources, right? And as I went along, not only did I learn from mistakes, right? Like the trial and error wasn't just with the recipe of how they were made. It was which stores I went to. I added some security features based on my experiences. Like one store, and back then I had never heard of scratching the shirt. Have you heard of that? Cashiers sometimes will scratch Benjamin Franklin's collar to feel the raised texture.
Wow.
Because bills are printed with an intaglio press, right? It's like high heat and high pressure, and it stamps on the ink.
Mm-hmm.
The ink is recessed into engraved plates.
And it's a big round press that puts a ton of pressure on it, and it pushes the ink deep into and it raises it.
Exactly. So the ink is actually raised up over the paper.
Right.
It's not absorbed into it. So, and like the ink is magnetic, it's ferrofluid. So that's another reason why it doesn't absorb into the paper. It's full of iron oxide.
Okay.
But anyways. So some cashiers will scratch Benjamin Franklin's shirt to feel that little rigid texture.
Okay.
And I had never heard of that back then.
Right.
So I hand over a bill, and they mark it and marked well, and they saw the strip, watermark, everything was good. And then I saw her do that and was like, oh, I'm not feeling anything. And she turned it down. she was like, yeah, I'm not feeling this. And I was like, what do you mean it marks with the pen? Is this and that? And she was like, yeah, I mean, everything checks out, but this. And I and then she explained to me, like, oh, you scratch the shirt, you feel the texture. And I was like, oh, huh. Okay.
We're not coming back here.
Yeah. Well, until I cracked that, you know. So then I go to Hobby Lobby and I start looking I ended up finding this invisible glue pen. It was like a Bic pen, except with like clear adhesive in it. So I bought that and I drew little lines on the shirt, let that dry, and then scratch it, and I feel this little bit of texture because I just put lines of invisible glue.
All right.
So I started doing that. And of course, like maybe 1 out of every 100 bills, a cashier would do that.
Right.
But that 1 out of every 100, I was thankful I did started doing that. You know what I mean? So, and then like CVS's, for instance, specifically have the counterfeit detection pen with a UV light on the cap. All CVS's have the black light. So again, I went to a CVS and they'd hold the black light behind it and say, oh, the strip doesn't glow pink. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, it's got everything else. And at CVS, they ended up taking it anyway. She said, oh, that's weird. I've never seen one that doesn't glow pink. And I'm like, okay, well, it's marking right. And she's like, yeah, I mean, it marks right and whatever. So I'll take it. But that's just weird. So then it's like, do a little more research, find out the strip glows pink. So then I was looking for invisible UV ink. And I couldn't find it anywhere. And granted, this was 6 years ago now, 7 years ago, or whatever it was. So, at that point, I was trying to make my own invisible UV ink. I took pink highlighters and I broke them open to get that cotton with the ink in it. And I put it in water to dissolve it to try to make this invisible UV pigment or something. And then I'd like take that and put it in a fountain pen to try to draw over the strip to make it then invisible to the naked eye, but glow pink in a UV light. But basically, like, I ended up finding this kid's toy that was, like, marketed to write in your diary for, like, little girls. Like, they could write in their diary, and it's invisible, so no one can read your diary, but you have a black light. And so I found those online, and I bought those and read. So then, after I printed the strip and the watermark, I would take a ruler and that pen and just draw a line over the strip, so now it glows pink in the black light. So I started doing that because of CVS. Multiple little things like that. Like as I went along, I learned which corporations to go to specifically, which ones not to go to. I, added a couple security features based on certain cashiers' reactions. And then, I would kind of stop doing other security features because I noticed, no one's really looking for the red and blue fibers that are in the paper, right? I used to take like red and blue colored pencils and lightly like do this on every bill. But I just noticed no cashier has ever mentioned the red and blue fibers.
Right.
So it's like, I won't even mess with that anymore. So I eventually kind of streamlined the recipe to where, all right, this is the most effective formula. Let's stick with these features. Let's throw these out. And then eventually let's get a couple printers. Let's have, and at this point we started, we hired a nanny to watch the kids. So my wife at the time could come with me because I was basically just gone all the time.
Right.
And she didn't like that because she was sitting in a hotel room with kids and, so we hired this nanny who knew what we were doing. So basically I'd buy multiple printers. I'd have my wife at the time and the nanny start taping paper for me throughout the day. That way I could have a few hours of rest, at the end of the night instead of just taping paper. So eventually, not only did I, like I said, I got rid of certain features, I added some, I kind of streamlined the process. I bought multiple printers. I had a couple helpers taping stuff essentially in the manufacturing process. So then I was able to start basically making like 5,000 in a day. But that's still a lot to break. Like I said, you can really only break a couple $1,000s if you're going store to store. So then I started thinking of how can I spend more bills to make more money.
Right.
And that's when I got a couple people to help me breaking them. I'd give somebody 5 bills and say, just bring me $100, $200, whatever. You go break them, keep the product you buy, keep the change, just give me $40, $20, whatever it is, out of every bill. So I had a few people I knew that were drug addicts. They'd want their daily fix.
Right.
So they were fine with going and breaking 5 bills to make $200, and I'd take $200, and they'd, whatever. And also through all this, I eventually met more drug dealers that wanted to buy them from me. And this was after a little time. And at this point, I had made money. I started making money, so money wasn't really the issue anymore.
Right.
But I was so paranoid about renting a house. I didn't really want to go home to the same place every night because I was just paranoid about, my worst fear was a SWAT team kicking in the door where my kids are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I thought at this point, staying at hotels is probably for the best. So I was just staying in different hotels every couple days. We'd switch hotels. And, eventually I'd run out of Bible paper, right? There's only 2 or 3 bookstores in Knoxville. And I had been to all of them. But staying out of hotels, there's always a Bible in the nightstand, right?
Right. Those are pilfered immediately.
Oh, yeah. But I noticed the cheaper hotels, those pages are already gone. People take them to roll joints or whatever. But I started seeing more and more times that there wasn't a Bible in the nightstand. And I just kind of chalk that up for bad luck or whatever. There's not one in the nightstand. Right. But one time specifically, I asked the maid, I was like, there's not a Bible in the nightstand. Do you guys have a Bible I can have? She was like, yeah, I'll send the maintenance guy down with one. So I was like, okay, thanks. And this guy came, knocked on our door, handed me a Bible. And I could tell the maintenance man looked a little rough. I could tell he was probably on drugs.
A fisherman knows a fisherman.
Yeah.
Step in here for a second.
Yeah, basically that's what it was. I was like, so you guys don't keep them in the rooms anymore? And he said, no, nowadays it's, not really politically correct.
Right.
There's different religions out of respect for Muslims or whatever.
Yeah.
We just have them upon request, but we don't keep them in the room. So I was like, okay. I'm like, so what? You guys just have a closet full of Bibles or something? And he was like, yeah, we've got 4 or 5 boxes of them in the maintenance closet. That's why the maid called me to get them for you. So I was like, and do a lot of people request Bibles from you? And he's like, no, you're the first one that's ever asked for one. And I was like, huh. I'm like, so really, I was like, if all the boxes were maybe if you kept a box, right? No one would really miss the other ones. He's like, no, not at all. I was like, I'll give you $100 right now for all the Bibles. And he was like, really? Okay. He was like, I'll put them on the cart and I'll bring them to you. I was like, all right. So he brings me 5 boxes full of Bibles. So I take all these Bibles and I wheel them into the room, and I was like, thanks. I give him a bill, a real bill. I paid him with real money. And then I go through, and there was I want to say 2 blank pages in every book. Mm-hmm. So I went through each Bible and took the 2 blank pages. And, I was able to get enough to make $20,000 off of this one cheap motel.
Did you give him those Bibles back and say, here, I'm going to give you these back to you?
No, because I didn't know what to say, why I wanted them. And I wanted to keep it secret. Yeah. So I just thought, I told him, I was like, we run a nonprofit charity where we donate Bibles. I was like, if you don't, because I was like, once he said I was the first person to ever request a Bible, I was like, oh, well, can I buy them off of you then? Because we run a nonprofit charity and we donate Bibles and diapers and this, that, and people's and families in need. So he was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'll give you personally $100. Right. And so he was thinking he's getting over and stealing $100 from the hotel whatever it might be. So when I got all the blank pages out, I just went and threw them in the dumpster because, like, what else am I going to do with 5 boxes of Bibles? And then he noticed them in the dumpster because he's like the maintenance guy. So as we were checking out, I'm like, got all my luggage and we're loading up the car. And he comes up to me and is like, hey, man, like, just so you know, like, I noticed those boxes of Bibles in the dumpster. Like, why did you pay me for them if you were just going to throw them away? And I didn't know what to say. He was like, are you like a Satan worshiper or something? He thought I was just trying to like pay my own money just to throw them away. Like, I don't know what he thought necessarily, but he mentioned something like Satan worshiper. And I was just like, I didn't know what to tell him. So whatever, it was a funny moment.
Those were evil Bibles.
I was like, got to get rid of the word of Jesus. And I'm paying money out of my own pocket just to throw books away. It's like, Jesus Christ. But
wow. It just gets worse and worse.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
We're going to have to edit some of this out. No. But, in all reality, though, my wife at the time did actually run a nonprofit charity. With the diapers.
Right.
She basically was giving diapers out.
That you bought with the stolen money.
Yeah, actually. Like, at first, she started it with all good intentions, right? It really was. And then, like, I started buying diapers for her thing because it's like, I mean, she might as well, she's doing a good thing with it or whatever. But the church got involved and was like, oh, that's good that you're doing this. They started giving her diapers as well to help her in her charity. And with the diapers, the churches was giving her Bibles also. Like, oh, so like, it was like, I can give you the diapers that I buy with the bills, and the church is supplying us with Bibles that I can take the blank pages out, but she can still give the Bibles out. So it worked out pretty well, you know what I mean?
Nice.
But, so between going to a new city...
What do you think hell's going to be like? I mean... You think it's as bad as they say?
Probably some red lights and Matt Cox sitting there with energy drinks and
Jeff.
I'll be like,
I already got a place
this is
for
great.
You.
It looks kind of. Anyways.
Just like being back at the studio.
Yeah. I like how you have the black and red. Anyways.
Good times.
But yeah, it's like between every city I'd go to break bills, I'd hit up the bookstores to get more paper. So between that and then like every hotel we'd stay at, I'd try to solicit the maintenance man to get me Bibles. And then, with the charity thing and the churches supplying Bibles, like there wasn't much of a shortage of paper. I would
think that would have been a major problem. Well, that's what I would have thought. But once you get it down, every page is worth at least, 1.5 bills?
Half a bill. Well, it depends. Some Bibles are this big.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I was thinking a decent-sized Bible. Boom, boom, boom. But, yeah, you're... Whatever.
Yeah,
so,
the standard Bible that's this big, you can get half a bill.
One. Yeah,
so it's worth $50 if you think of it like that.
Right.
But also, like, there were specific Bibles that were this big that had really good paper. And some of the Bibles I'd go to a bookstore, and there were specific Bibles that would say notes at the top to where you could, study your Bible and write notes or whatever. But there would be, 30 or 40 blank pages in the back. And they were this big. So you could really get 3 halves off one page. So it's really worth $150, technically. And there was 40 blank pages. So, I mean... That's pretty good. That one Bible's worth like $7,000 or $7,500 or whatever the math comes out to. So if you go to a bookstore, say there's 3 of those book Bibles in stock, that right there is like $20,000 almost,
right? From
just that one brand of Bible, and then so each bookstore is worth about $50,000 typically.
So, did you ever get? Was there ever a time when you were actually in a store and the person realized what was going on, or?
Not in any of the bookstores. One time in a Walmart.
Yeah, no, I don't mean the bookstores. I meant like when you were passing a note.
Oh, whoa. What do you mean? like,
Was there ever a time you were passing a note and the person was like, "This is fake"?
oh yeah, I mean it happens. It happens here and there. Not as much as back. See, like when I was doing it before, it was like 6-7 years ago. So the '96 series bills were a lot more in circulation.
Right.
So it's not like a lot of people really turned it down, but yeah, it did. I mean, it does happen. For me, there was one case in particular that Ingles grocery store specifically. I don't think you guys have them in Florida, but that it's just a grocery store chain. Them specifically, every $100 bill, they have to take the customer service to get it approved by a manager, and they get the change from like the customer service because they only keep like $200 cash in their drawer.
Right.
So if they were to give you $95, like
It almost wipes them out.
yeah. So, and I didn't know that. So Ingles specifically, I'd hand them the bill, and then they went to customer service. And I remember one time the cashier came back without any change and was like, "Yeah, I gave it to my manager. They'll bring me change in just a few minutes." So we'll just and I'm just sitting there twiddling my thumbs like, okay, and I'm looking over there to see if like they're looking suspicious or whatever, and I see the manager like hold it up and do this and then like walk in the back room. So now I'm just sitting here blind, like waiting for the change, and it's like, well, I can't. The last thing you want is to have the store know that the bill is fake and you to leave it there.
Yeah.
Because then they have evidence, okay, this bill's fake. You want them, obviously you're leaving it there when you break a bill.
Yeah.
But they don't know it's fake, so it just gets mixed in with all the other money, and then it gets just kind of lost in the...
Well, also, if you walk away, too, it's clear you know.
Exactly.
You didn't walk away from $100. You knew it was fake.
Exactly. So the last thing you want is to leave the bill because then you're leaving evidence, right?
Right.
If it is fake, you want to at least get it back and leave.
Right.
And like you said, if you do leave without the bill, not only are you leaving the evidence, but you're basically admitting to knowing it's fake too.
Right.
So you have to just sit there and sweat it out and wait and hope that they didn't just call the cops. You know,
Right.
so basically I've thought of this time and time again, like what's the best scenario in this scenario and what do I do in this scenario? And, you know, so like in that case, I can't just leave.
Right.
So the police could be on their way.
Right.
And you gotta just sit there and wait, you know?
So what happened? Right.
Eventually the manager came back and gave me the change, but it's
Nice.
like you're sitting there waiting for 5-7 minutes. It seems like an hour, you know, because I mean, waiting at a register for 5 minutes when there's a line of people waiting to pay for their stuff too. It's like that is a long time.
Well, at least you have the option of that, assuming you've only got the one bill on you. If the cops come and say, "Hey, what's going on?" You say, "Well, I don't have any idea what's going on. I gave the guy a fucking 100. He didn't come back. What's up?" And it's a counterfeit. What?
Yeah.
Holy shit! Are you serious? You could do the whole golly gee whiz, but if you have a pocket full of them, you're screwed.
And this is the thing, right? Like I said, I educate myself before I did this. Like, I'd read indictments of people, like just over and over and over again. And every person, it was the same thing, right? They'd go in and try and break a bill. They weren't very high quality bills.
Right.
So they would either get the license plate number and then pull the guy over, and then they get caught with a bunch of more, you know, $5,000 in other counterfeit bills.
Right.
So every time they have them on them, like a whole wad of fake money, like you said. So I would always, that's why we got a nanny, so my wife at the time could come with me so she could hold the bills and walk, you know. So I'd always only take that one bill into the store. I'd always only have, like I'd leave with my wife at the time, all the fake money and the real money. That way, I'd only go into the store with like $12 in real money, like two 5s and a few singles and the fake 100. That way, and I'd make sure that I bought diapers that came to like $16. So when they said, "All right, your total's $629,"
I don't quite have enough.
Yeah, your total's $1624. I'd pull out $113, and I'd count through it in front of them so they see, and I'd be like, "Oh shit, I only have 100. Can you break 100?" So then they say, oh, let me see or whatever. And then I hand them the 100 and then I instantly go give them the 24 cents as well to kind of distract them. They get the coinage. And it was this psychological thing that I kind of developed, I guess you could say, that it was the same thing every time. And that was my process, was like, but then also to maximize profits, I started buying prepaid Visa cards instead of the diapers, because then I could buy a $100 prepaid Visa card, and there's like a $5.99 fee attached to it. So a $100 prepaid Visa card would come out to like $106 and whatever cents. So then I'd give them 2 fake bills, and I'd get like the $93 change and a $100 prepaid Visa card. So it's basically doubling my money now.
Nice.
Yeah. So, and like when I had people breaking bills for me, we'd also go to like a Walmart where there's multiple registers. There's like the garden center, there's an electronics center, and then there's usually 3 or 4 registers up front. So if I went into a store with 2 or 3 people, it was like basically every male cashier, I'd say tell a girl to go to, and every, female cashier, me or a guy I knew would go to. So like going into a Walmart, and you hit the garden center, the electronics center, and like 1 or 2 registers up front, it's like you're getting $200. You're getting a $100 prepaid Visa card and $93 change at every register, and you hit 4 registers. That's like $800 you're making at one Walmart or something.
Plus, if you also have somebody go through the first time and it's good, you can have somebody else go through, somebody else go through. You know it's going to pass every single time, right? Like you hit the same Walmart all day long. Right?
I try not to do that, but there was this one case where this guy, a drug dealer I knew a manager at a gas station, which, again, like I say, gas stations aren't typically good to break bills at, but this guy was in on the scam.
Yeah.
So he was a manager. So he basically just opened up the safe and exchanged real money with the counterfeit money. And we got like, I think $8,000 in one thing. Because he basically, I was like, give $8,000 in fake money, and he was going to like, what was it? I think he kept like $2,000, and then he gave us $6,000, and I split that with the dealer that kind of facilitated it. So it's like for $8,000 in fake bills, I ended up getting like $3,000, which was good for me. It was good for everybody. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that was a good little lick. But he was in on it. So
how does it scale? Because how are you recruiting these people? You know what I mean?
Basically just like through the drug world.
Right.
Obviously, I was a drug addict, so like I would eventually just meet more drug dealers.
Right.
And that a lot of the drug dealers would want to buy bills from me. And then just through that scene in that world, you meet other drug users and drug addicts. And if you find a drug addict who's unemployed and has a habit that they need $100 a day to pay for their habit, it's like you meet someone like me, and I'm saying, oh, here's this hustle. You can make $400 a day if you just break these 10 bills. It's like that'll pay for your habit and then some. You can get, for a unemployed drug addict, offering him a way to make $400 a day every day is a pretty good hustle.
Yeah.
So there was definitely multiple people that was, they were hitting me up, asking me like, hey, can you help me with that today? We obviously didn't talk on the phones, but people were hitting me up, wanting to break bills for me.
Did you ever get ripped off or like?
No. By the people breaking bills for me?
Yeah, like you're giving them money and they just take off?
No, because I'd always tell them like, listen, to me, this isn't worth anything, essentially. But to the cashier, it's worth something. To you, it's worth something. Like, if you steal from me, you're just cutting off the connection to get more.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you bring me back what I tell you to bring back,
this keeps going.
Exactly. I'll give you 5 more. It's a never-ending supply of them, pretty much. So it's like, it's like the kid that decides to steal $5 off of you the one time when you could make $2 a day for the rest of your life.
Right.
It's like, yeah, you can act like that
Yeah.
guy and steal the 5 now, but you could make 2 a day forever. And most people, if you explain it to them, even the dumb person that would steal the 5, once you explain it to them, they're like, oh yeah, okay, I won't steal it from them now.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
The last one's free.
so Knoxville as a city, for whatever reason, has like all of its drug dealers are from like out of town, like big cities, specifically like Detroit. So much so that the police in Knoxville have something called like the 313 initiative, which is like specifically to target Detroit drug dealers in Knox County. So a lot of these drug dealers come to Knoxville not knowing anybody, like having kilos of drugs, but looking for customers. So they're known to kind of like go up to random people at gas stations and kind of, if you, I guess, look like a drug addict or a young guy that parties or whatever, that's kind of their thing, is like, hey, you party, and then they give a free sample and their phone number.
All right.
And you know, that's pretty much how it works. So in my case, like, I've got this pocket full of counterfeit money, and a stranger approaches me to, try to sell me drugs. It's like, okay, I'll take the sample and try it, and then call them back and say, oh, I need a couple 8 balls, and give them fake money. And, doing that, sometimes people would get pretty angry if they found out. Some people wouldn't find out, and I'd just continuously get them with these fake bills. So like some people get angry, I just ignore their call. I mean, these are strangers, so
Yeah.
you just block their number and go on.
Yeah,
with
they don't know
life.
where you're living. They don't know where you're at.
Exactly.
And you're in a different hotel every few days anyway.
Exactly. Like the feds couldn't find me. Some drug dealer doesn't know where I'm at either.
Right.
But every now and then, for whatever reason, it's like if I kind of liked you a little bit or something, like whatever. If the conversation went that way, some people I would just be honest with, and because I knew they're not police, they're offering to sell me,
Right.
drugs randomly at the gas station. So I might just say, well, this is what I do, and be honest with them. So anyway, over the course of about a year's time, I kind of accumulated about 10 different groups of drug dealers that I was selling bills to. Like I had a couple different groups from Atlanta, a couple from Cleveland, probably 3 or 4 different groups from Detroit or Flint or Grand Rapids, like the Michigan area. Basically, like drugs are a lot cheaper in Detroit than they are in Knoxville. So these in Detroit, it's like, I think the economy has just kind of plummeted to where there's no one to sell drugs to anymore. They all just go to other small towns. Like all the rappers even sing about it, you know what I mean? Going to smaller towns to sell drugs. But either way, I started dealing with multiple different kind of drug trafficking organizations from all these different cities and selling them bills, because these people would live in Knoxville after a certain amount of time and develop their customer base or whatever. But once a month, they'd have to go back to their city to re-up their supply or whatever. So when they were to go back to like Detroit or Cleveland or Atlanta or whatever, they'd want fake money to take with them to kind of rip off some dealers in their hometown.
Right.
So I would do that with a lot of different groups. And this one specific group from Cleveland, Ohio, it was these 2 brothers and their cousin that I was dealing with for about, probably about a year and a half for the bulk of my time counterfeiting. And it began with me ripping off the youngest brother. I was buying like an 8 ball a day from this kid for probably a month straight. So, a good amount of money I had gotten him for. And I guess one day, and I found this out later on in my discovery, he said that it was raining and he had his wad of money in his pocket, and one of my bills was on the outside, and it got wet, and the color shifting makeup got wet and smeared off. So it was just like black. And then he said he put it in a cup of water, and it just slowly separated. So he called, not too happy, basically knowing that I had been ripping him off.
But he'd obviously passed all those bills. He didn't get ripped off for thousands. He got ripped off for $100 at this point.
Exactly. And that's what I told him. I was like, well, if you're just now finding out, I'm like, how much money are you really out?
Yeah.
And so he wasn't really angry.
Yeah.
At first he was, but it was him just trying to play hard.
Yeah,
I think once I actually talked to him and was like, listen, man, like we can either do business or I'm just going to block your number.
Right.
So it's like, where do you want to go with this?
Right.
So eventually he was like, yeah, okay, let's do I want to buy some more. So I was like, okay. So I start selling him, these bills about once a month he'd buy. Of course he wanted like $500,000.
Yeah.
But, it's like I got to explain to him, it's not like I'm just pressing print and now there's money.
Yeah.
It's like a handcrafted process. Every bill is handcrafted, painting on little things and gluing it's time consuming. So of course him wanting $500,000 next week, I explained how that's just not reasonable. But I was like, not only that, but you're also one of 10 groups that are requesting money from me. So like I could probably swing selling you $10,000 once a month. Mm-hmm. But any more than that, and I just don't have the supplies or manpower or whatever. I just don't have the means to do it. Plus, it's like I found breaking bills myself is way more profitable. So like really selling bills to these drug dealing groups was kind of almost like doing them a favor more so than me, because it's like I could go spend them or have people spend them for me and make more money. So like this is really just kind of a way of it's a courtesy to my drug dealers. You know what I mean? Selling them this product. It's more so than me profiting off of it.
Right.
But anyways, I started selling him about $10,000 worth, like once a month maybe. And we did so much business together that we ended up renting a house even, and he was kind of selling drugs out of it, and I was, had like a counterfeiting studio in the back where I had exhaust fans blowing the lacquer out of the door, or out of the window, I mean. And I had multiple printers set up, and it was like a little,
little shop,
a little print shop.
Yeah.
So we were sharing this rental house, and one day he comes home, and this was in 2019, just for reference. He pulls up in like a 2017 Charger or something, like on 22-inch rims, like a decent car.
Mm-hmm.
And he pulls up and says, I was like, oh, nice car. Like, you just moving on up. Haha. He was like, yeah, I just got it for $500 in an 8-ball. And I was thinking, oh, that's stolen. Mm-hmm. That's a stolen car.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it's not. I got the title for it. I'm going to go register it tomorrow.
Stop it, bro.
Yeah. And my exact reaction.
Yeah.
I was like, come on. I'm like, who'd you get it from? He goes, oh, it's this dude, Hawaii. And I'm like, oh, that's this guy. He's like a known booster in Knoxville. Like, everybody knows him as like this guy. What size shoes you wear? I'll get you some Air Force Ones in that size. I'll be back in 30 minutes. Like he's a known thief.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, you got it from that guy. I'm like, it's stolen. 100% it's stolen. Like, I know the guy. He's a booster. It's stolen. Yeah. And he's like, no, how could he steal it? He got the title. It's all good. I'm going to register it. And I was like, dude, you're crazy. You bought a $20,000 car. I mean, I'm like, the rims themselves are $6,000.
Right.
So I was like, and you bought it for $500 and $300 worth of drugs? Like, it's stolen. Anyways, he wasn't hearing it. I think he just wanted the car. Yeah. He was in one ear, out the other, whatever. So he was planning a trip to go to Cleveland, like maybe a week after that. And I told him, I was like, I'm not going with you in that car because, like, I would go with him on certain trips so I could go up to Cleveland and break bills, and he would go buy his stuff. And it would just kind of kill two birds with one stone. But I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm not going up to buy a brick of H in a stolen car. And he's like, it's not stolen. I got the title. I was like, listen, like, you can say whatever you want. Like, I'm not going in that car. And it turns out I ended up getting arrested on like a little failure to appear for a traffic ticket or something. Like I got arrested anyway. So he went to Cleveland without me. So I get out and I was thinking like, okay, whatever. I didn't want to go with him anyway in that car. So I go back to the house and one of his little runner chicks, this girl Summer, she was at the house like selling his stuff for him while he was gone. So I had just gotten out of jail. I mean, I bonded out like immediately, but still you've got that like feeling like I got to take a shower, like you know, just whatever. I just am getting out of jail. So I come home and I wasn't paying her any attention, but she tells me like, "Oh, I thought I should let you know E got arrested up in Cleveland, but he told me not to tell you, but I just thought you should know." So
why wouldn't he want you to tell me?
Exactly. It's just like the stolen car thing.
Yeah.
It's like, do you not see that like that's strange that he told you not to tell me? And she was just dumb and wasn't even thinking. She was like, yeah, it's weird. He said not to tell you, but I don't know why, whatever. But I thought you should know. Like, and I was like, what? I'm like, you know, this house is probably going to be raided then in the next day or two.
Yeah.
And she was like, what do you mean? He wouldn't do that. Like, I'm here. And I was like,
please.
Okay, well, I'm packing up.
He can get another summer.
Yeah, exactly. So I packed up everything and I left. I didn't even shower after the jail. I was like, get everything, like, we're gone. So I got everything, every single thing of mine out of that house. And left, you know what I mean? I went to stay in a hotel on the west side of Knoxville. And I was thinking, like, okay, I'm pretty sure he's cooperating, but he doesn't know that I know he's cooperating because Summer obviously didn't tell me, you know, whatever. So, sure enough, I'm starting to print in this hotel room for these other Detroit people, you know, another group of people. But the guy E from Cleveland calls me, and sounds pretty desperate to meet up. He wants to meet up. Hey, where are you at? And I was just like, no, I told him I was on a road trip. Like, yeah, I just decided to leave for a little bit. Like, I'm going down to Atlanta, you know, whatever. I'm just kind of going on a road trip. And he was adamant about meeting up. And so I already knew he was cooperating based on what Summer told me, but this just kind of solidified it. Yeah. But I figured, again, he doesn't know that I know this. So I'll just deny everything and not talk about anything illegal, and that'll be that. Sure enough, like, we never talked about anything illegal on the phone to begin with, so, like, if he even brings up anything illegal, that's another red flag.
Right.
So... And he knew that about the counterfeiting thing. Like, he didn't even bring up the counterfeiting thing. He just said, I need to meet up with you. I need to see you, or this and that. And I was like, listen, I'm out of town. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And he was like, well, basically he was pushing the meeting up so much so that eventually I just called him out on it. I was like, listen, man, I'm like, you're acting weird. I was like, Summer told me that you got arrested. Like, why would you tell her not to tell me? Like, that's strange. I was like, I don't know what you're trying to do, but I'm not meeting up with you. Like, there's no reason to meet up with you. And, like, I don't know what you're trying to pull, but, like, you're acting sketchy. And he was like, he basically said, like, yeah, well, I did get arrested, but the money I had to re-up, I had to bond out with. So now I didn't have any money, so I couldn't re-up in Cleveland, so I just came back to Knoxville to get more money. So now I'm back in Knoxville. I need to re-up in Knoxville. So I figured you could help me out through some other people you know, because I know you know a bunch of big drug dealers.
I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
Yeah, and I was like, So he's like, so I'm looking to get 700 grams. Like, can you help me out with 700 grams? And I was like, dude, you're the drug dealer. I was like, you know, I don't sell drugs.
Right.
Why would you ask, of all people, why would you ask me for this? I was
Right.
like, I always tell you that you should stop selling drugs because it's too much of a risk. I was like, you know, I use drugs, you know, it's a recreational thing. I'm not in that business. I don't deal drugs. I was like, you shouldn't ask me that. And I was like, the fact that you just got arrested, it seems like you're trying to set me up for something I don't even do.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, he admitted that I don't sell drugs. He was
Right.
like, yeah, I know. It looks bad, but like, I know you don't sell drugs. I just figured you could help me out and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, no, man, I'm not helping you with that. Like, that's crazy.
Did he have?
I gotta go.
Did he have any of your counterfeit bills on him when he went up there?
Yeah.
Because you know that the Secret Service can, they have like a fucking vault full of of casual counterfeiters. They know the exact type where they're like, oh, this is a Jeff Turner. And they've got all tons
Absolutely.
of your stuff, and they'll know exactly who counterfeit. So they may have gone and said, look, we don't know who this is, but here's a photo. You have his bills. Here's a photograph of him.
Yeah. So
Do you know who that is? Oh, that's my buddy Jimmy. You know.
Well, I knew that, right? I know how the Secret Service organizes their.
You must have watched the same documentary I watched.
Maybe so. I did a lot of research and reading and memos. You can actually read published memos from like internal documents of. Like,
I didn't read it.
government.
I don't read.
No.
I learn everything from documentaries.
YouTube only, strictly. What'd you do 15 years ago then?
I got caught.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, and I knew that, so I would every now and then I would change all the serial numbers and I would edit the files consistently, so
Right.
the pixels were different, and because I knew that they zoom in and look at every little detail, so every few months I would go in and start from scratch and get a whole new image from scratch and delete the 25, 30 serial numbers I was using and get 25, 30 more different ones. So to kind of limit, their file on me, essentially, or their file on whoever I may be in their eyes. But anyways, so after telling E, like, no, I'm not getting you this drugs, he admitted I'm not a drug dealer, everything. So I end the call. And I'm thinking, like, that conversation went well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He didn't know that I knew he was cooperating. But either way, long story short, he admitted on the phone that I'm not a drug dealer.
Right.
He admitted that, he only incriminated himself on that call.
Right.
So I was thinking, like, I'm good. At this point, I just need to. The feds are probably building a case on me.
Right. But you had to know that anyway.
Yeah.
Even if they don't know who you are, they're building a case on whoever's making these bills.
Yeah. Now they have a face, to the bill or whatever, a face and a name to the bill, but they have no evidence. But I didn't know the feds only need a testifying witness. So. Yeah, just him saying, yeah, it was Jeff Turner.
Yeah,
That's all they need.
enough.
But I didn't know that at the time. I was thinking, like, they have no evidence on me. You know what I mean? So I figured I'm just going to leave Knoxville. That conversation went very well. It went in my favor. As long as I leave town and stop doing it, like, I'm in the clear. But little did I know, just that phone conversation, they pinged my location, just based on answering the phone, and they knew where I was. So, yeah, and that's all they needed. So I'm in this hotel room with my wife at the time, Jessica, and this other girl, Dylan. We wake up, and they leave to go shopping. And I'm just sitting in there printing. Sure enough, I hear a knock on the door. Like 10 minutes after they leave, I hear a knock on the door. So I thought, like, oh, they must have forgot the key or something, and they must have forgot something, whatever. So I almost just opened the door because it was so soon after they had left. But I looked through the peephole, and it was just blacked out. Like there was somebody's thumb or hand, something was over the peephole, which is not an ideal situation when, you're printing $100 bills in a hotel room and you hear a knock on the door and try to see who it is, and it's, you just see black. over the people. So, like, I just ignore it. I try to, like, the printers are running, though. Like, 3 printers are running. So it's kind of loud. And, I'm trying not to make noise, like, just ignoring the knocks.
Right.
But eventually, they keep knocking. They won't stop. And now I hear, Jay, open up. Jay, open the door. And I'm thinking, like, who knows that I'm even here? How does he know my name? I don't recognize this voice. Just all of it was, like, sketchy. It was all just didn't make sense. So I, like, kind of peeped through the window. And, like, at the angle, I can't see who's knocking on the door. And I can't see anybody else. And then I finally see just the shoulder of a Knox County sheriff's patch. Like, you can tell he's standing up against the wall because the window's here. And it's like, I just see barely a Knox County sheriff shoulder patch.
It's not a good situation.
Yeah, so at that point, as soon as I see that, okay, it's time to dispose of evidence or something. Like, I didn't know what to do. There's no back door. I take all the bills that I had, like, coming out of the printer and flush them down the toilet. And try to flush it. It goes down. I throw some more in there and try and flush it. And it just, like, I still don't know if the toilet got clogged or if I thought at the time that they shut the water off because E said I had kilos of drugs and all this. Like,
so that's what he had said? You had kilos of, that's what they thought they were.
Well, I was staying with somebody who was linked in with these Detroit people. Okay. That was a big operation. So there could have been lots of drugs in that room. There just wasn't at the time. Like, okay, I'll say that. But anyways, the police were under the impression that there was kilos of drugs in the room. But anyways, I try to flush these bills, and it just clogged up the toilet. The toilet wouldn't flush, whatever. The water was off. So now the toilet is there's just wet bills stuck to the inside of the toilet. And now they're starting to battery ram the door. Like, so I'm hearing boom, 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 which is a very, it caused a panic attack to say the least. Right. I'm trying to, I don't know what to do. The door's getting kicked in, but at this hotel I was staying at specifically had like steel reinforced door frames, and the door was like steel, like a real heavy door. Mm-hmm. So it took them probably a solid 8 to 10 minutes to get through this door with the battering ram. So much so to the point to where they were just hitting it for so long that I even tried to open the door for them because I was just like, I don't know what to do. Like at this point,
they're going to get through here eventually.
Yeah. So I tried to open it, but they had bent it a little bit. So now it's like a steel door. So it was bent to where it was like jammed, closed.
Right.
So I even said to him, like, listen, I'm trying to open the door. Like, y'all fucked it up. I can't open the door now. Right. So don't think I'm being like, I'm not cooperating with you. Like, I don't know. I'm trying to open the door, but y'all fucked it up. So you do what you do. I don't know. Like, you're going to have to get your workout in today, So at that point, I knew I'm going to jail for a while. I don't know how long. So, of course, like, being hooked on drugs, I knew I was not going to be feeling well soon. So I dump out a little bit and do some, and then light a cigarette and sit on the bed and just wait for him, And it's just like that kind of moment. I don't know. I got tunnel vision and like just smoking a cigarette while they're all yelling, banging on the door with the battery ram. Eventually they got in, like you said.
Yeah.
And they didn't give up. So, I'm just sitting on the bed and they throw me down, gun to my head, the whole deal. Handcuff me, sit me up. Of course, the drug task force guy, which I knew right away because it's like all these federal agents. And then this one guy who's like 6'5", obviously on steroids, covered in tattoos, walks in.
Yeah. The Rock.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, that's obviously the Knox County Drug Task Force guy because, whatever. You can just tell. And he tries to talk to me like, oh, where's the kilos at? And I'm like, what kilos? I'm like, you just heard the phone conversation. I don't sell drugs. Like, he even acknowledged that. And he's like,
I'm
yeah.
a counterfeiter.
That's not what you say, first thing. But, yeah. And he was like, of course, trying to get me to talk about everyone else I know. And I said to him, like, listen, you're not going to get me to speak. Like, obviously, the Secret Service is right here. Like, even talking to you wouldn't help me, even if I would talk to you.
Right.
So, like, let's not even go this route.
Right.
Like, it wouldn't even help me to cooperate with you. Because, like, we're talking a federal case. You're Knox County Drug Task Force. How would that help me with the Secret Service?
Right. Yeah, I'm just going to
like,
end up in federal prison as a snitch.
Exactly.
I'm
So
still going to
I
federal
was like,
prison.
listen, I'm not like stupid, and
Right.
you're not gonna, you have nothing to even offer me. So like, I need to talk to a lawyer. And then once you say that, apparently they can't ask you questions, which I didn't know that.
Stops everything.
Yeah, because I said, I'm like, I'm gonna need to speak to a lawyer, and then he instantly was like, fuck you then, whatever. And like, acted all hard and was like, get him out of here.
Yeah, it's the
which I didn't know. I didn't know that once you say that, they can't speak to you.
It's the needle. It's the needle on the record album.
Yeah, exactly.
You know that everything stops.
But so yeah, once I said that, they took me out in handcuffs and walked me through a motel, right? So, and there was probably 50 to 60 cop cars, which is, if you think about that many cop cars, it's like the parking lot was just full of different agencies. There was the Cleveland, Ohio, the Northern District of Ohio Secret Service, the Eastern District of Tennessee's Secret Service, the Drug Task Force, Organized Crime Unit, KPD, Knox County Sheriffs. So like,
When I see them walking you down the gauntlet, everybody hitting you with a billy club, screaming, "Stop resisting! Stop resisting!"
Yeah. It was more like every person, every guest at the hotel standing in their doorway, looking at me like I'm Jeffrey Dahmer or something. Like this big, spectacle of like walking me down to the paddy wagon, which was super embarrassing, obviously, but I guess I had more problems than that. But, like I remember just thinking like now it's like, obviously they had to get me to the paddy wagon. But at the time I was thinking like, is this really necessary to walk me out? But I mean, what are they going to do? Like people are watching. So it's
this is part of the whole procedure.
Yeah,
they want you to be embarrassed. They want you to be. Yeah.
Yeah. But it worked. It was definitely like, God, just, head down in shame. But anyways, and I get in the little paddy wagon. And I remember it like, I sat in, it's like a steel box, those like transport vans.
It's not built for comfort.
Yeah, no. And I sat there the whole time while they're digging through this hotel room, gathering evidence stuff. So like, I think I was sitting in this steel box for like 6 hours probably, which was, I remember thinking like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like torture a little bit. Like it's hot as hell and, you sit, anyways, that sucked. But eventually, I go to Knox County Jail on state charges because the feds didn't have their evidence to pick up the case and everything yet.
Right.
They were still compiling their evidence. So I got booked into Knox County Jail on state charges of criminal simulation over $60,000. And, I knew the case was going to go federal, obviously, because I saw all the Secret Service patches on their bulletproof vests or whatever, their jackets. And I knew, how much money I had printed over the course of the couple years.
A few million?
Nah, not quite a few million. I mean, I don't know the exact number. I'd say anywhere from $1.5 million to $2 million, give or take.
That's a few million, right?
Yep.
Two's a couple, three's a few.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll take two. Two for the thumbnail. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably about $5,000 a day for a year.
Right.
And the first 6 months, maybe 1,000, a couple thousand. So it progressively got printed more. So it's hard to really tell, but I'd say it's probably a couple million at the most.
Okay.
But anyways, I knew that was enough for the feds to definitely pick it up. So
How long before they did pick it up?
it was like about 3 months.
Okay.
So I sat in jail for about 3 months. I did like the arraignment, and then whatever the court date was called or whatever, I basically went to court one day, and my public defender pulled me aside and said, they're going to drop your charges today, and most likely walk you over across the street to the Marshall building and serve you a federal indictment, which, again, like, I knew that was coming. So I remember I was standing in court, and they call my name, like, Jeffrey Turner. I stand up, and they said, oh, we dismiss all charges, whatever he said. And everybody's like, yeah, everybody next to me from the county jail's like, fuck yeah, man, you're going home.
No.
And I was like, yeah. I was like, and then they were like, come this way, Mr. Turner. And they were like, damn, they're letting you out right now. And I'm like, I'll see you back in the pod, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, they walked me across the street to the federal building. Because in Knox County, the state courthouse, county courthouse, and the federal courthouse are right next to each other. You know what I mean? So you walk over this catwalk. They're connected by this catwalk that goes over the street.
The Bridge of Sighs.
Yeah. So, anyways, they served me the federal indictments, switch out my little jumpsuit to the tan. They call it peanut butter. I don't know if that's a national thing. Because you know how the federal, like, colors are that, like, tan color?
In Coleman, it's actually a hunter green.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. You always see most of when they show the federal, it's always that tan.
Yeah.
I think almost everywhere is tan. Whenever I tell people no, it's hunter green, they're always like, really?
Yeah, I never heard that either.
It was hunter green.
Even in federal prison.
It was tan.
It was tan,
Yeah,
yeah.
not in Coleman. All the facilities have hunter green.
Even
where are the orange jumpsuits at?
No, that's like a county jail thing.
Yeah.
That's not
that's not even all county
That's not
jail.
even state. State, they wear like blue usually.
Yeah, that's like the jail.
County
Like, not
jail,
the
yeah,
prisons. They don't wear the orange. But if you see those, it's typically a county jail. Some of them have.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the guys will be wearing yellow, or they call them a banana suit. It's a same jumpsuit.
The glowworms or whatever.
Yeah,
the crazy people wear the highlighter.
Or you're in trouble. Sometimes you're in trouble too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's different. There's some county jails where they have the stripes. You know what I'm saying? Like
the black and white stripes.
Yeah.
That's always embarrassing too. Like that just old school, like traditional ball and chain on the railroad type fucking.
Like a Halloween costume.
Yeah, exactly. But so yeah, they switched me out to the peanut butter, the tan colored uniform, and obviously my whole pod. I leave for court in whatever color it was, I forget. In Knox County, blue is like kitchen workers. I think I want to say green or something is like medium security in Knox County. So I leave to go to court in maybe it is red. I don't know. Either way, I'd leave in one color and come back. So everybody in the pod's like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? Like
federal.
Yeah. But, after I got indicted federally, it was probably only like another month until I was let out on pretrial release. But then while I'm out on pretrial, COVID.
You were released?
Yeah, on pretrial.
Nice.
Because in the feds, you were probably a flight risk. I would say.
No, there was no.
Yeah, I was too. They fought that, like the U.S. District Attorney or whatever, U.S. Assistant U.S. Attorney.
Yeah, AUSA.
Yeah.
Assistant U.S. Attorney.
They were fighting, saying, oh, this guy's from Florida. He's living in Tennessee. He was the guy that set him up was from Cleveland, Ohio. He doesn't have an address because he was living out of hotels. The one address, I was living out of a house, but it wasn't in my name. And, you know what I mean? So they basically they were like, there's a lot of money that's missing that he may have hidden. whatever. They were
make
trying
you
to
sound
say,
like an arch criminal that's got an escape plan and $10 million in an offshore account. It's like, get the fucking shit, bro.
Yeah, and that's what I argued to my attorney. It was like, my sentencing guidelines, it's like worst case scenario, I'm looking at like 3 years, 4 years. So it's like I'm not gonna flee from the federal government for
and I'm married with 4 kids.
Yeah. And obviously the judge agreed with me. I'm not a flight risk, really. Like, so they let me out on pretrial. Any charge with like drugs or guns or violence on any level, they don't let you out on pretrial. But like the Bail Reform Act or something like that basically says like if you're a nonviolent first time offender, it's like they have to let you out.
And so your charge is just what, counterfeiting U.S. notes? Is that...
let's see. Originally the indictment was, I want to say, like a 5 or 6 count indictment. It was conspiracy to counterfeit U.S. obligations, counterfeiting U.S. obligations, sale and delivery of counterfeit U.S. obligations, and then like I think a couple different counts of like uttering counterfeit U.S. obligations. So basically passing bills, selling bills, and making bills, and then the conspiracy. So that was my original charges. They let me out on pretrial, and then COVID hit. So I was out on pretrial for like a year and a half because all the courts were shut down. So basically I had a stipulation of letting me out was I had to go to rehab, an in-house 30-day rehab, and then I had to go to a halfway house. That way, if I did flee, they would like get word of it or whatever.
Right.
So I did all that. And then, basically while at the halfway house, the Secret Service, I would have meetings with my attorney pretty consistently. And eventually the Secret Service, like, basically offered me a deal. They said, if you plead guilty, we will not charge your wife with anything. We'll keep your restitution amount under $100,000, which basically was almost to $1 million at that point.
Right. Because they're still collecting notes.
Yeah, but bills are still hitting the bank, and they're still kind of attributing certain bills to me or whatever. So basically, they said like you're at about 800,000. Once it hits over $1 million, you're looking at another enhancement.
Yeah.
He's like, so basically the enhancements are like 100,000, 300,000, and then like $1 million.
Yeah.
And he's like, only you know how many bills you've made. So if it's over $1 million, like then it'll get there eventually.
Right.
You'll be looking at 8 years or whatever. Which they threaten you with stuff, obviously, but. He basically said, we won't charge your wife. We'll keep it under 100,000, which, not only will avoid the enhancement that's probably coming, it'll take away a couple enhancements that's you're already got. And he's like, if you make a training video for future Secret Service agents, kind of explaining the methods you used in counterfeiting these bills, and, we just want a training video to train future Secret Service agents in, like, current counterfeiting trends and techniques and stuff.
Nice.
So, yeah, basically at that point, it was like, I'm not going to take this to trial. They pretty much caught me red-handed. Like, the printers were literally running as the door got kicked in. So, yeah, and that was a pretty good deal that I didn't have to cooperate on any one, but I could still cooperate and get a reduction. So it's like my only co-defendant on my case was the guy that set me up. So fuck him. But basically it was like it was a pretty good deal they offered me. So I submitted the change of plea to guilty. And sure enough, they dropped the restitution amount to like $96,800 or something like that, like just under 100. And then I ended up filming the training video for the Secret Service agents, and like
they fly a crew out, or they hire somebody locally to just shoot a? Where would you film that?
Well, yeah, I didn't even know it was happening the day of. Like my lawyer, I had a scheduled meeting with my attorney. So I went downtown to the federal defender's office and met my attorney, and she was like, "Yeah, we've got an appointment with the Secret Service guys, so we got to go right now." And I was thinking, like, okay, like whatever. I figured they wanted to talk or whatever. They told me that they'd try to fly a film crew down to do it. But I remember asking my attorney, I was like, "Oh, is this to like film the video or something?" She's like, "No, there's no way," because it was a Sunday. She was like, "No, the feds don't work on Sundays. Like, there's no way it would be on a Sunday."
Right.
So I was like, "Okay." I'm like, "Then why are we? What is this for?" And she was like, "I don't know. They just said they wanted to see us, whatever." So we walk into the Secret Service headquarters in downtown Knoxville, go up into the building. And this was the first time that it was Special Agent Greg Watson, right? He was like my arresting officer or whatever. And this was the first time that like when we walked up into like whatever floor we got to, he like walks over and shakes my hand and he's like, "It's really good to see you right now." And like all of a sudden I was like, "That's strange." Like last time I saw you, you were like threatening me.
Right.
And but we go into this room and it's just like this, you know what I mean? With the cameras and lights and, they mic me up and they were like, "Yeah, we got to hurry up and do this because we flew the film crew in on Sunday. It's overtime. Like we got like 3 hours to get this done and they got to catch a flight back." So I was like, "Oh my God," like they flew a film crew and it was like, I forget her name, but it was some woman. And she, Greg Watson, the guy overseeing my case, he said like, "Oh, that woman's oversees like the entire counterfeiting department of the entire Secret Service." So like she flew from D.C. to Knoxville to like I don't know, I
Monitor
guess meet me and be there or whatever, which I thought was kind of like pretty interesting too. Not that whatever. Not that I'm proud of it, but so yeah, I'm basically, since they raided my hotel room while I was printing, they had all the equipment needed to make bills. So they had all my printers and spray cans and pens and everything on a big table just laid out. And they had a stack of like my bills, some of the evidence, which was like a stack of hundreds about that big. And I remember asking if I could take a picture, so I snapped a picture of the bills. So I've got that somewhere floating around the internet. But yeah, so basically I didn't know what to do. They were just like, "Oh, just go." I remember he said, "Just go." And I'm like, "Go what? Like, what do you mean?" He's like, "Just start making bills. Just start doing it." And I was like really awkward sitting in a room with a bunch of federal agents, like, but I was like, okay, and start describing the process. And I made, I think, 2 counterfeit hundreds. And like the last step is spraying it with this lacquer from a distance. So I remember I make these bills and then like without even thinking, I finish up and then I take it, hold it, and I start spraying this lacquer.
Right.
And everybody in the room instantly was like, "Oh God," like it smelled really bad.
Right.
And my attorney ran out of the room.
Really?
And I was like, "Yeah, well, I guess she was pregnant. I didn't know she was pregnant." But like, I guess the lacquers, I mean, I didn't even think of it, but like I was spraying a can of, spray paint and lacquer inside a pretty small room, you know what I mean? So yeah, I felt bad about that, but either way, yeah, and the sound guy was like super irritated. I remember he was like, "Oh, that's horrible," but he had to stay there and like do his job, so he was like all pissy about it. But
was there anything that they were like unaware of, like, "Oh, you do that because of this"? How? That's just interesting.
Yeah. Well, there was one when they raided the hotel room. They found 2 blue notes that I had been working on as kind of like basically a hobby. it took me way too long to make them to be profitable. Like one of the blue notes probably took me like 4 or 5 hours, like just because I was trying to get that strip down. You know what I mean? The blue strip.
Oh, you mean the new dollar bill, the new ones? Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I was working on streamlining that process, but I had gotten it down to where, and that's a big part of what they wanted to know was like, how did you counterfeit the blue strip? Because I guess I was like the first person to do that, supposedly.
Right.
So I explained to them how I figured out how to do it. Because a lot of it, they were basically saying, like, who taught you? Who taught you about the blue strip? And who taught you what it's made out of? And who taught you how to do it? And I kept saying, like, nobody. I just figured it out. Like, I read. So basically, I knew that, like, it's the government works. It's all contractors. You know what I mean? Like the politicians are basically just people to oversee the budgets, and then it's all contracts with private companies. You know, so knowing that, it's like the BEP, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, kind of oversees the manufacture of money, right? But I mean, even the Federal Reserve is a private bank, and then they get this company to manufacture the paper and the security features and this and that, and then the BEP just prints on the paper. So I knew that, so I figured this blue strip, they have to patent that information. So, because I was trying to figure out what that blue strip was, like how I could mimic it, what's it made out of. I was trying to like reverse engineer the blue strip. And I eventually found a patent. It's literally the blueprints on what it is, how it's made, and all that. It's hard to do, but it's relatively a simple process.
Once you get it down.
Yeah. So I did that to make the strip, and then I cut the Bible paper just like any other bill, but the strip is woven in between. Like it's woven inside of the paper.
Right.
So that's a process. So basically, like I said, it took me like 5 or 6 hours to finally make one bill that was perfect, but it looked like perfect. So the Secret Service were really interested in that. And then once I told them about the patent information, they were like, oh shit, we didn't even think of that. Like, because they kept hounding me on who taught me.
Right.
And when I said, like, I taught myself, I found the patent information, they were just like, oh, fuck. Like, you know what I mean? We didn't even think of that. But yeah, so I like to think I gave them some useful knowledge about counterfeiting. And
what do you think their goal is? Do you think their goal is to just catch counterfeiters or find ways to prevent it happening? You know,
I think anybody's gonna. They're eventually all that. If somebody created the technology, somebody can kind of.
Yeah, they'll never. I don't think the Secret Service necessarily wants to stop counterfeit. I mean, you have to think just like the DEA doesn't really want to stop all drugs because then they're out of business.
Well,
You
I
know?
don't think you can stop.
Well,
I just think there's somebody's got to figure out a way, whether it's perfect or not.
Exactly.
But they're going to figure out a way.
Well, that's the thing, right? And I was explaining
So
that.
to focus on that seems irrelevant. Like,
Exactly. And they know that.
Right.
They know you'll never stop all drugs.
Yeah.
So let's not even try.
Yeah, that's a waste of effort. Right.
Exactly. And the Secret Service is the same way. But also, like you said, it's like you can put as much money, you can print $1 trillion and pump it into the Bureau of Engraving and Printing to say, get a bill that's impossible to counterfeit. There's always, like you said, if someone can make it, someone can replicate it.
Right.
I might not, like the BEP can make really hard anti-counterfeiting bills, but they have to make, what, 50 billion a day to supply the economy? Okay, well, it's like, it might be really hard to counterfeit, and no one can meet that, match. No one can make 50 billion, but I can make 4 bills a day.
Right.
And the amount of effort it takes to make 4 bills, like, I can replicate those features to make 4.
Yeah.
They're making 50 billion, I'm making 4, but I can still do it.
Yeah, even if your ink is slightly, it may not be identical, but can the human eye is really going to be able to detect a slightly different ink color or slightly different? Like, you're just not going to be able to detect that. Like the average cashier isn't going to be like, oh, wait a minute, the DPI is off by 230%.
Exactly.
You know, like they're just not going to fucking know, you know?
Yeah, as long as you only have to fool the cashier that gives you the change.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not necessarily having to fool. You're not making super notes that fool the Secret Service or the Federal Reserve. You're fooling the guy that's a cashier at Dollar General who doesn't have a high school diploma.
Yeah, he's making $13.50 an hour.
Yeah,
like,
who doesn't really give a fuck either
Right.
way. So it's like, as long as it marks with the pen, he'll take it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so you don't even need to counterfeit the bill. You just need to mark with the pen and look good
Right.
enough to where he doesn't get fired if you know.
Yeah, this guy's just trying to get through his shift.
Exactly. So there's a lot of that too, which, I mean, obviously, like, the bills I was producing looked very good. Like, it fooled pretty much everybody. I've had bankers look at the bills and say they were real. But, you know, I think that's why I was so successful in passing them. And that's why I went 2 years passing them without getting caught, was because they looked so good and beat all the features and stuff like that. But
how much time did you do?
Ultimately, with that deal, yeah, like I said before, I'd been arrested a couple times, but one was a minor and then one was adjudication withheld because it was my first charge as an adult. So I didn't really have much of a criminal history, and the offense level I think was like 9 or something.
Oh yeah.
So the federal sentencing guidelines, my range was 10 to 16 months.
Right.
So I eventually got sentenced to the low end of 10 months. But I did a couple months on the state charges that were dropped.
Right.
So I ended up doing a little over a year total at a low security
camp.
Not a camp, a low.
Oh, low. Sorry, low.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I did I ended up doing probably 7 after doing the county jail tour.
Yeah.
I went from Knox County to Blount County, which is the federal holding facility for East Tennessee, and then from Blount County to Laurel County, which is the federal holding facility for Kentucky, and then from there to FMC Lexington. So I ended up doing like probably 6-7 months at FMC Lexington. Basically, right now, I'm just kind of focusing on finishing my book, and hopefully, I've optioned my life rights to the film company that the director, Alex, is finishing the screenplay now. He's finishing it up. He said he's going to start pitching it to the big wig production companies by the end of the year. I'm starting a podcast called Crooked Talk. So yeah, on YouTube, Crooked Talk. I've got crookedprints.com where I sell prints of $100 bills and stuff like that. But really, now the website kind of got messed up and went back, so I really just focus on the Instagram page, Crooked Prints. If anybody wants prints of, $100 bills, different kinds of wall art, stuff like that.
Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, in the description box, we're going to leave all of Jeff's links to his YouTube channel. So go there, subscribe, and any other social media, Instagram, whatever else. We're going to leave all of those links in the description box. Click there, follow, subscribe. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Also, if you want to be a guest on the show, we're going to leave our website. You can go to the Be a Guest page. You can fill out an application, which is short. It's like 5 or 6 questions, and leave a 3 to 5 minute video telling a quick version of your story. Please share the video too. Thank you very much. See ya.